everybody. Welcome to another live edition of Ron's Library and Ideas. I'm Ron. Tonight we're going to be talking about Sinners, the movie, and maybe even sinners in real life. But while we wait for some people to come in the room, listen to some music I just made. What's going on? Thank you for tuning in. We're going to be talking about the movie Sinners. Trying to get, there we go, come on. Trying to get my music to connect to my Bluetooth speaker, but I seem to be having a problem. Alright, that's the second time I heard it do this. I don't know what the problem is. Guess we're gonna have to just enjoy it on here. Yo, have y'all seen Sinners yet? What's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Hey, have you seen the movie Sinners yet? What's going on, y'all? Can y'all hear this music? I hope so. Nice little vibe. Yo, what's going on? The movie just came out yesterday, but it's definitely a must watch. Great story. The director is Ryan Coogler. What's going on? Thanks for tuning in. This is the same guy who directed Black Panther, Fruitvale Station, Black Panther 2. Great director. Michael B. Jordan's in it. Okay, well, hey, listen in, man. We having a talk tonight. Have you gone out and seen the movie Sinners? Thanks for subscribing. Excellent movie, top to bottom. Cinematography is great. The acting is great. The story is great. Just a very good movie all the way around, and it has some pretty deep messages in it, depending on your perspective. You know, I do a lot of studying of symbology, so certain things that are always going to stick out to me in movies. Now, when they were first releasing the trailers for this movie, I didn't really know what it was about. They were kind of being very vague. I knew it had to be some type of horror, but I didn't know exactly what the movie was going to be dealing with. It wasn't until like very recently with the latest trailers that they released that we realized, oh, it's going to be vampires in this movie. Okay, so let's see what Ryan Coogler does with a vampire story. I also like this because it's his first chance to tell the original story. Hmm. Um. Well, there's always more to learn. There's always more to experience. Each day, there's a opportunity and a chance to do better, to get better, to experience more. Every problem that you encounter down here also has a solution, and you have the ability to find that solution. Um, and I wonder how I can tie that into this movie. So the movie is about Michael Jordan, Michael B. Jordan. He plays a pair of twins, the Smokestack twins. And in the movie, they're from a small town in Mississippi. They leave, go off to war. Then they travel to Chicago where they're working for Al Capone. Something happens up there. They wind up ripping off the mob on two different sides, and they come back home. And their idea is, okay, we're going to open up a juke joint. We're going to use this as a way to make some money. Now, before they left, they had a young cousin who they gave a guitar to. And that guitar, he has learned to play it and learned to play it well. He's very talented on the guitar. And the music in the movie is wonderful as well. It's been interesting hearing people from outside the culture talk about the movie. Um, it's a very different experience when you come from it. Like my family is from the South. I live in the South right now. Yeah, Josh seems to be having a hard time, but like I was telling, there's always more to do. Life is an experience, and it's worth having. And there's always new experiences that can come along, especially in these stories that we get told. Like movies is our way of storytelling, and that's a main message of this movie is that music is a form of storytelling. And the main character in this movie, Preacher Boy is what they call him, the ability to create music and share that, it bridges the gap between time and space. So that music that he's creating, that we create now, it it really bridges that gap. So you're connected to your ancestors and you're connected to your descendants as well. Duke Ellington made music all these years ago that's still being played. Beethoven made music all these years ago that's still being played. The fact that we sing, that we drum, that we want to express ourselves through music, that's a powerful thing. It draws people together, to express ourselves, to release that joy, to release that pain. There's a character in the movie named Delta Slim, and he's recounting the story of his friend who was in a group with him who got lynched. Lynch mob came around and saw that he had too much money for what they thought, so they concocted a story and said, "Oh, you must have stole this from a white man and raped his wife." So they lynched him, and not only did they lynch him, they cut off his manhood too, cut off his penis, and that's something that always happened in lynchings in America. It's like there's a white fascination with the black male penis, with the black male manhood that they just can't stay away from. And this movie explores that. He turned the pain of that memory, he turned that into a song. He started beating, stomping, turned that into a bass line. That's what the blues is about. It's a way of getting out all of that energy, that sadness, and letting yourself express that and being able to release it and feel good about it. Now, another key message in this movie is that music is powerful. It draws people in who want to feed off of that energy, who want to use it as an exploitative measure and to get something from it. And you have to pay attention to that. Like our music has been turned into a weapon against us. So let's go back. So the entire movie takes place within a day. One 24-hour period you see. And the movie starts off, you see a preacher boy driving up in an old car, well, old car by our standards, but it's a nice car in that time of the 1930s. So he shows up to his church, and his father is the preacher, and he comes in, and it's wild because he has these claw marks going across his face. His clothes are tattered, he's bloody, and his father is preaching a sermon. And instead of asking if his son is all right, he say, "Are you ready now to let go of that sin? Are you ready now to let go of these worldly ways?" I think he said, "If you keep playing or you keep chasing the devil, he's gonna come knocking." And that was the theme of the movie in a sense. So we cut from that, and then we see the Smokestack Twins, Michael B. Jordan's characters, waiting to buy a sawmill from what they don't know is a Ku Klux Klan member, the Grand Wizard. It's kind of funny how they gave themselves that title of the Grand Wizard, the leader of the Ku Klux Klan. And they don't know it at the time, but they do notice, they look at the floor and they're like, "Hey, have y'all been cleaning these floors?" The guy avoids the question. But it was what was powerful in that scene to me was seeing these two brothers stand up to this Klan member who they don't know is a Klan member with absolutely no fear. And you got to think this is like the 1930s in the deep South in Mississippi. That's the type of mindset that they would consider to be dangerous. So anyway, I don't know if I want to do a full blow by blow of the movie, like things that happen, but you need to go out and watch it. If you don't mind the spoilers, I'm gonna talk about some things that kind of give away what happens in the movie. Um, there are some plot threads that I wish they would have played out a little bit fuller. Like after this brothers, they get everything ready for the juke joint opening that night. You cut to a scene to where you see this guy kind of just like hop down out of the air and his skin is burning, and you can see that the sun is setting. And he goes up to this house and knocks on the door, and this white couple opens the door, and they both got like shotguns on them, asking, "What do you want?" Now he's saying, "I just need some help. There's some Indians after me. I'm trying to get away from them." And he's appealing to them as one white man to another group of white people, a white couple. Can you please help me? Can you please let me in? And something that's interesting. So the movie's about vampires, right? Uh, the vampires are representing multiple things, but evil is the first part. And evil can't come in unless you invite it in. Think about that and let's apply that to our lives. Evil can't come in unless you invite it in. You have to invite these things into your life. You have to invite these things into your mental. And you may not even know that you're doing it. You invite it in based on the people that you associate with. You invite it in based on the decisions that you make to do right or wrong. And you know what right and wrong is. If you have a soul, your soul will speak to you. The right thing can sometimes be the harder thing to do, but you know it's what you should do. It's your ego that convinces you otherwise. So that's something you're going to see throughout the movie, is that the vampires can't come into the dwelling that the people are in unless they get invited in. That's your protection. So uh, Preacher Boy finally gets a chance to perform at the juke joint. Um, and it's powerful. Like his music is bridging that gap of time and space. So you're seeing these images of our people back in Africa drumming. And they also call them griots. Like a griot is a storyteller in a tribe, in a group. So the musician also being the griot is a powerful thing because we get to pass these stories along through music. So you get to see that griot in Africa. You get to see that drummer. And then you get travels forward in time. So not only do you have Preacher Boy playing the guitar, then you have what looks to be like a Bootsy Collins dress character playing guitar. So showing you how that's going into the future. Then it shows you some scenes of like jazz and hip hop. How we party now. You see a brother on the turntables. All of this is our music that's being connected through time and space. You know, it's quite a special feeling making music and playing it. If you never had that experience of being able to play with a group of people or sing with a group of people, it's nothing like that. You know, I remember singing in the choir or hearing the band playing music like symphonic bands or orchestras, and they'll put out a sound so good it literally give me chills. I know that's not something that everybody experiences, but hearing somebody who can sing or a group sing or some music being played that gives you chills, it's nothing quite like it because it's just the music that's touching you. So anyway, after he performs, this vampire, who he learned is a vampire because he attacked that white family that let him in. And you also see that they have a KKK outfit sitting in the background when he goes into that house. They let him in, and the Indians come, and she runs them off. And the Indian says, "Yeah, I hope you didn't let this thing into your house because he's not what he seems." She goes into the back bedroom, and there her husband is bleeding to death on the floor. And he's sitting there, you know, mouth all bloody. And he gets up and attacks her. So the next thing you know, the next scene after Preacher Boy plays, the vampire is drawn to that. He wants his music. He wants his stories. He said he's trying to get connected back to his people or bring them here. He wants to, I guess, ride along on that wave that Preacher Boy is bringing with his music. It's interesting uh, because the vampires are using music as well. They come up and they play, you know, their music for them. You know, trying to come across as, no, we're just nice and friendly, and you know, we're all just one big family. Won't you invite us inside so we can play some music for you? Now, Stack, the twin that wears the red hat, you know, he's willing to let them in, but Smoke is the older twin. It's like, nah, y'all need to go up the street with your own people. You know, he has discernment enough to know now we shouldn't invite them in. So, also, oh, I forgot about this part. There's an element of hoodoo and voodoo in the movie, and he does a wonderful job representing that as well. A lot of times in the media and movies, when they show, you know, black people practicing our spiritual practices or different spiritual practices outside of Christianity, they make it seem like it's just so evil and scary. I guess it can be scary based on how you use it, but religion can be scary as well. Think about the Spanish Inquisition, the things that they did. Think about the Crusades. There have been plenty of people who have died under this idea of, well, my God is greater than your God, excuse me, or my religion is the right religion. You have to follow me, or else you're going to hell. What did he say about numbers in the beginning? You mean the beginning of the movie? I don't know if he said anything about numbers. I don't remember that. Um, what was I just saying? Oh, hoodoo, voodoo. That's a spiritual science. That's to the girl about language. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Um, something to the girl about language about numbers. Yeah, I'm gonna think about that for a while. Maybe somebody else in the chat can answer that question for you. Uh, but the spiritual practices are scary to people who can't access it in the same way that we can. I think about the story of the Haitian Revolution, and they say that Haiti was able to defeat Napoleon because they were practicing their spiritual science, and that's when white supremacy as a whole, they got to go down there and study and go, well, how did these black people do this? How were they able to defeat one of our mightiest generals? Oh, they're practicing hoodoo or voodoo, and that's scary for them because that's something that they don't have the same type of skills with practicing. I used to work at a music store in Savannah, and I got into a conversation with one of my coworkers who was from that area, and he told me a story about some man in his neighborhood who got caught molesting these kids. The parents did not go to the police. They went to the neighborhood hoodoo practitioner and told that person what happened. And the hoodoo practitioner did something. So now that guy who was messing with those little kids, he's sitting there as a vegetable right now in Georgia Regional. That's a mental hospital in Savannah. Just sitting there drooling on himself. And that's what he gets for messing with kids. That's the kind of power that comes from our spiritual practices. But you do have to be careful with that. You know, the idea is what you put out comes back to you. So if you're in that world, like putting roots on people, that's what it's called when you're working a spell against somebody. If you're out there putting roots on people, that kind of stuff can come back to you. I had an experience with a young lady who was trying to do that to me. I've told this story before on my live, well, before on my channel, but if you're new to this, you probably haven't heard it. So, in the South, older men will tell you never eat a woman's spaghetti who isn't your wife or who isn't a woman that you want to be with. The reason being, she could take some of her menses, which is her cycle blood, her period blood, put it in the spaghetti sauce or whatever, and you digest it, and that ties you to her. Like you can't find yourself or you can't bring it in yourself to be away from her. So I was dating this lady, and I came over to see her at a spot one night, and she asked me, she's like, "Hey, do you want some chips and salsa?" And I wasn't hungry at the time, so I was like, "No, I'm okay." So I just said no. So the night continued going on, and what's crazy, she was on her cycle at that period, and she wanted to have sex. I wasn't with it. I wasn't that close to her, and I didn't want to get that close to her. So she offered me chips and salsa like two or three more times that night, and each time I turned it down. And then I started thinking to myself, yo, why does he keep offering me chips and salsa? It didn't click until like I was driving away. I was on my way home after seeing her, and I could tell she was disappointed. Like I didn't have sex with her that night, and I also didn't eat the chips and salsa. Um, but what clicked in my mind, I was like, oh snap, she probably put some of her period blood in the chips and salsa, and she was trying to get me to eat it to bind me to her. I'm glad I listened to my intuition and my higher self that I was like, nah, you don't want any chips and salsa. And that's another thing. If you're, you see movies like The Exorcist, and somebody gets possessed, uh, that only works on people who believe in it. Like they say in the Matrix, your mind makes it real, Neo. So if all of that, getting possessed by a demon or hoodoo and voodoo, if all that is nonsense to you and you don't believe it, it won't have any power over you. Now, if like myself, I know that stuff is real, but I know that I'm protected. So again, I don't worry about it. I also am not out here doing wrong to people as well. Now, there are jealous people who will see what you have and be like, well, I want that for myself. and they may try to do something to you. But if you know that you're divinely protected, none of that stuff will bother you, and it'll just bounce back on them. Yeah, it is definitely real. But anyway, so in the movie, uh, the twin Smoke, he goes to see a woman and he visits a gravesite. Like we learn later on in the movie that that's a love interest of his that he left behind in Mississippi when he went off to Chicago or went off to the war. And she's a very wise woman. Now it's interesting. Everybody has a love interest in this movie. All well, the younger male characters, the two people that Michael B. Jordan is playing in Preacher Boy. So Smoke, his love relationship is with the hoodoo practitioner. Stack, his love relationship is with a biracial young woman. And you know what? I don't even know if it's biracial. I don't know if it's like considered like an octoroon or something like that. Because she says in the movie, my grandfather, my mother's father, was half black. So figure that out as you may. So that's his love interest. Now, after the vampires show up, she decides, okay, I'm gonna go outside, or maybe she decides to go outside because he asked her to. I think she volunteered because she knew they needed the money. So she volunteered to go outside and see if the vampires were good people. Well, turns out they're not. She went out there and got attacked. She got turned into a vampire. So she comes back to the juke joint and she asks, hey, Cornbread, you gonna let me in? He's like, yeah, come on in. He invites her in. Remember what I said at the beginning of this. You have to invite evil into your life. It doesn't just come in. You invite it based on your choices, based on the things that you watch, things that you listen to, all this kind of stuff that can get into your mental and start, multiplying. Yeah, she was possessed. She got turned into one of those vampires. So, not to give away too much of the movie, but one of the coolest things that I picked out, the Smokestack twins, one of them wore red, the other one wore black. Excuse me, blue. So it was Stack who wore the red. He was the wilder of the twins. And if we're going based off like, chakra colors, your root chakra is red in nature. Um, that that represents like your primal nature. And he's the one that was dating the biracial or the octoroon woman. Um, so she pulls him off into a side room, and he doesn't want to do it because she's married. And then she tempts him into it. She said, "Yo, you can rob trains, but you can't steal this pussy for the night." Now, that's challenging his ego. This is the brother that wears the red. The other brother, Smoke, he wears blue. That's higher up on the chakra scale. And I believe blue is like your throat chakra, like the ability to speak. And he's also like the more business savvy of them. Um, so anyway, do you remember in the Matrix when Morpheus finally meets Neo in person? He offers him a choice. You can either take the red pill or the blue pill. You take the wait a second, which was it? Was it the blue pill that you took and you went back to sleep? Hmm. Let's see. I really can't remember. Do y'all remember that? Was it the red pill or the blue pill that put you back to sleep in the Matrix? Let's see. Red pill, blue pill, Matrix. Let's see what it says. All right, in the Matrix, the red pill represents confronting uncomfortable truths and waking up to a harsh reality, while the blue pill symbolizes remaining in a comfortable simulated reality and blissful ignorance. Wow. All right, so initially when I saw that and I saw the colors that the brothers were representing, my mind went to Okay, so Stack, since he was the brother that wore the red, and he's the one that eventually, spoiler alert, if you don't want to know what happens, maybe, click off of the video and come back after you've seen the movie. But Stack gets turned into a vampire by the biracial woman. She comes back, seduces him, brings him into a back room, and this I think is gross. Like she's when the vampires get excited and they're ready to kill something, they start drooling. But that drool, it don't look like regular drool. It's thick. If you ever seen something about Mary, it looks like the hair grease from something about Mary, if you know what that is. And she winds up like spitting in his mouth. That ain't my thing. Like, hey, don't put your spit in my mouth. That's another level of freaky that I don't aspire to. But if they flipped it for this movie, so it's Stack that gets bit, and he winds up turning into a vampire. Now the main vampire in the movie, he comes up and he's telling them like, "Yo, it's all about peace and love over here. And the world that you live in, these white people can come and take this from you anytime they choose, especially if you don't have the strength to stop them from doing it." And that's kind of a real sentiment. We've seen this happen over and over again throughout American history. We'll build up something and white folks will come in and burn it down. They get jealous. They know, okay, we got to keep a foot on their necks because unless we do, they're going to raise up too high and they're going to take back control of the planet. And that's not what they want. Especially not the black people over here in America, because we will put this place in a peace and harmony where evil can exist. So the brother that wears the blue, Smoke, he winds up dying in the movie. But you see that him and the hoodoo practitioner, they had a child together that passed. So, oh yeah, so the vampire tells him, he was like, hey, look, y'all got tricked. The people or the guy that sold you this building, he's the Grand Wizard of the KKK. He was planning on coming back tomorrow to kill you all anyway for being an uppity nigga and thinking, oh, you have the rights to own something like this. So he took your money and he was going to come back and kill you. The vampire told him this. So, I'll let y'all watch the movie and see how they survived the night with the vampire. But there's this Chinese lady in the movie that really pissed me off because she sends her husband outside. So after Stack gets attacked and he dies, they say, hey, y'all, party's over. Everybody go home. So everybody like leaves out, and I'm thinking to myself, so they just gonna make it to their cars and drive back to town, and there's vampires out there. So it turns out they didn't make it. They all got attacked and they all got turned into vampires. Well, it was an Asian couple that was helping out that night, and the woman, the wife, says, "Yo, go and get the car." So he leaves to go and get the car, and we don't see him again for a little while. When he shows back up, there's another vampire feeding on somebody, and the Asian guy's telling his wife, "Yo, come on outside. We know we're gonna go home. Everything's gonna be all right." And she's like, "Yo, you don't see him killing this guy right over here?" And he looks. He's like, "Oh, he's just a little hungry." So right then and there, okay, he's a vampire. And he also asked her, "Well, you don't got to come out here. You could just invite me in." But the main vampire, after you bite one of them, or he bites one of the regular humans, he gets to his memories. So he starts speaking to her in Mandarin and telling her, "Yo, I'm gonna go and kill your daughter back in town and turn her into one of us." And that really screws with her head. Because I know movies have to have tension, has to have some type of excitement. But if the vampires can't come in unless you invite them in, they were safe just waiting out the night. They could have just waited for the sun to come back up and been inside. But because he got inside her head and she got emotional, she wanted to fight the vampires. So it's like seven of them of yeah, he said he was saving them. It was seven of them inside the juke joint and like 30 vampires outside. So I don't know what she thought was gonna happen. Okay, we're gonna run the fade with 30 vampires and win. But she got caught up in her emotions. That's something you have to be in control of and make rational decisions. Cause she says, come on in. And that's where the action starts. Crazy. Like I was like, yo, that's I was in the movie like, yo, that's dumb as hell. There's no way y'all gonna be able to fight off all these vampires. But now that I know that they flipped the red and the blue pill thing, I'm trying to decide if he did that on purpose. And I feel like he did. Everything means something in movies. Like these colors that you see, the story, all of this speaks to your subconscious mind. So the brother who got the internal physical life, you see him show up again at the end of the movie, at the very end, like the mid-credit scene. Preacher Boy is an old man, and he went on to become, a blues playing guitar player, a singer, and I guess he was pretty famous. He made a living doing that. So you see how he gets through performing, and it's closing time. But one of the bouncer or the bartender comes up and say, I got two people outside. They're offering to pay like $1,200 to get in, even though we're getting ready to close. So Preacher Boy says, let them in. Lo and behold, who comes in but Stack and his girlfriend, and the year is now 1932. Now the movie took place in the 30s, and that mid-credit scene is 1992. Huh. And he walks in and he said, yo, my brother just couldn't kill me. No Cain and Abel. I couldn't kill my brother, but he made me promise not to mess with you. So Stack says, do you want me to make you like us? And Preacher Boy says, I've seen just about enough of this place. I'm ready to, move on. And then he sniffed him. Stack sniffed Preacher Boy and said, yeah, you don't have long now. And so they get up, the vampires get up, and they're ready to leave. And Preacher Boy says, before the sun went down, that was like one of the best days of my life. And he said, was it like that for you? And Stack thought about it. He said, yeah, that was one of the best days of my life. I felt free. And think about that. He lived this long life. He has eternal youth. And that one night, or that one day back before he got turned, was the best day of his life. That's just interesting to think about that. His brother is gone. All the other people that he loved and cared about are gone. And he's had to endure on earth. Now, Preacher Boy has the wisdom and the knowledge to be like, you know what? Yeah, I've lived. I'm ready to move on and see what happens next. Excuse me. And Smoke, his woman, she made him promise that, yo, if I get bit, I want you to end me so I can move to the other side. I can move to the true life. Yeah, he offered him immortal life. But immortal life in the physical is a trick. If you are a soul, you already have immortal life. What we call life, what we're experiencing right now, that's really death because it ends. The true life ends once you leave here. That's where you reach eternity. Your soul goes on. It moves on to higher and higher levels, or it reincarnates back down here to have a different kind of experience. But I can see how that's a damning thing to be trapped inside your physical body with no means of release. And vampires remind you of Jesus. Yeah, they're walking around offering you salvation. Uh, you die and get resurrected. You come back as something else. Yeah, that symbolism is definitely there. And I wonder if he did that on purpose. Like that's part of like him saying, "Yo, this is a trick." And not for nothing, the movie called Sinners coming out on Easter weekend. Isn't that interesting? Tomorrow is the Resurrection Day, and they say a lot of this has to deal with astrology. People question whether or not Jesus actually existed. But it is interesting that a movie called Sinners that deals with vampires and offering eternal life and resurrection comes out on Resurrection Sunday. That's not an accident. Hmm. I just got through reading Interview with a Vampire, and the main character, Lewis or Louis, he didn't see being a vampire as something to celebrate. He was very hesitant about making other vampires. He lived as a human for like the first 25 years of his life, so he had like those human moralities, and he knew, okay, so I'm going to have to kill people to sustain myself over all these years. How many deaths am I going to bring about just so that I can live for all eternity? He felt guilty about that. He didn't want to be a killer, but it was in his nature as a vampire. That's what he had to do to survive. And if you think about it, life feeds upon life down here. The Buddhists say to live is to suffer. I don't care how well off your parents are, what kind of situation you're born into. There's going to be some type of suffering that you go through down here. But the beautiful thing is there's something beyond that suffering. There's joy in the midst of that. And the argument goes like, can you really know what joy is without having some type of suffering? And maybe that's the purpose of this place, so we can go through these proving grounds and experience everything that the physical has to offer, so that when we leave here and we move to these higher levels of existence, we can really appreciate it. They compare that to the story of Adam and Eve. They were existing in paradise. They didn't know how good they had it. They got tempted, or Eve got tempted, and she tempted Adam, or that's how the story goes. So they fell out of the Garden of Eden, and we've been trying to work ourselves back ever since. If you think about it, if God is the ocean, you are a drop of water out of that ocean, made up of the same components, but not that vast ocean, just a part of it. So for God to know itself, it creates us to go and have these experiences and bring it all back together. I say the real trick, like while we come into the physical, is to remember that, oh yeah, I am not only a part of God, well, everything is God. So I am God, this version of Him existing in this body. And once my this physical form leaves, then I'm back in my soul self. I'm back being a soul, and that soul travels to different places, has different experiences until it makes it back into the source. It dissolves into that oneness. But imagine if there was something that could trap you in the physical to where you can't leave and have that experience. That is a truly horrible thing. You hear people say, man, I want to live forever. Not in the physical, you don't. Just think about how your body will begin to betray you eventually. Even if you lived up to like peak human physical and mental capabilities, anything that has a beginning has an ending. Adam lived for a long time. Let's see, let me look that up so I don't tell you wrong. Adam lived to be 930 years old. Hmm. He didn't have a son until he was 130. Hmm. So think about that. There was a point in time where a man could live to be 930 years old. Think about how much wisdom you accumulate over that time period, the experiences that you must have. And what, we're lucky if we get 75, 80 years now. The life expectancy has actually gone down a little bit because our society is the way that it is. But to go from 930 years from the first man to getting like 70, I guess to Adam as a 930-year-old, you meet somebody that's in their 70s, oh, you're just a baby. You don't know shit. They say, I've heard Bobby Hemmett talk about this in his lectures, but he said in Egypt, you went to school until you were 40. And then when you got out of school at the age of 40, you were still considered like a young pup. And that's because they were living so long. Think about you living to be 930 or around that time age and you're 40 years old. Oh, you haven't experienced anything yet, really. You got a whole lot more living to do. But again, Adam lived 930 years, but it still ended. So if God has no beginning and no ending, that means your soul, which is a part of God, will never really end. So anyway, what did y'all see in Sinners that stuck out to you? Let me know in the comments. It's been interesting hearing people from outside the culture critique the movie and what they saw as far as what they didn't like when it came to like the music. Now there are some technical aspects and plot holes in the story that I wish they would have filled in. Like I wanted to see more of the Indian vampire hunters. I wanted to get more backstory of what happened to Smoke's daughter that he had with the hoodoo practitioner. There's just a lot more that they can do with the movie. And I don't know if he's setting this up to be like his own universe. But I left the movie, me and my fiance left the movie feeling really good. I'm glad we went to see it. It was just a beautiful experience. But I'm going to play some more of this music for you guys, and I think I'm going to get out of here. Yeah, oh no, I wasn't even playing it in English. All right. Hey, make sure you guys go on my page and check out The Way to Superior Man. I'm putting the audio book up chapter by chapter. I just put up chapter 29. It's instructions on life, man. How to be a better man. Ladies, this is also a way for you to be able to recognize when you come across a superior man. We're getting to a time where mediocrity is not going to cut it. Not having masculine men or truly masculine men is how we've gotten ourselves in this situation. We let evil run amok. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, catch the replay if you're just now tuning in. I appreciate all you guys. And I'll see y'all in the next episode.